Hello Eagles Nation, Vincent Foast here, and welcome to Wildcard Round Eagles Chat. We're here at Eagles Chat, we get down right to the news you want to hear on your birds. But before we get into it, make sure you like and subscribe to the Eagles Chat YouTube channel, as well as following us on Instagram at Chat Eagles, where you can find daily updates on your birds, and you can also find our Instagram in the description of this video. But now, let's get right into it, and yes, the Eagles sent the Packers packing back to Green Bay last night with a final score of 22-10, and they melted all of the Cheeseheads' hopes and dreams last night within those few hours. I even celebrated with having a grilled cheese sandwich, and yes, that grilled cheese sandwich was pretty good. Something good to already finish off a great night last night as the Eagles move on to the divisional round of the playoffs, and yes, that brings up the big question. Who will the Eagles be going up against next week? Well, I can definitely answer you one thing. It's going to be one of these two teams. And to figure out who they will be going up against, well, you'll just have to watch the Monday Night Football game tonight between these two teams. And that's the question. Will it be a rematch like it was in 2017, in the 2017-18 season when the Eagles went up against the Vikings in the playoffs? Or will it be up against the LA Rams, which are not a bad team at all. So either way, it's going to be a pretty interesting game, but something I definitely can confirm to you is it's going to be absolutely wild in the Link next week. I mean, hey, when isn't it wild in the Link? It's always wild in Lincoln Financial Field, and I definitely know it was wild last night. That is something I can definitely tell you. But now, let's move on to the injury update. So I got to bring the tone down a little bit. As we started this Eagles chat so positive, but now, unfortunately, it gets kind of negative as, yes, we're reporting on the one big-time injury that everyone's talking about on Nakobe Dean. Now, it is said that he has a knee injury, and it was confirmed as of this morning that he has a torn patellar tendon in his left leg, around his knee. So that is definitely something not great at all to see. And here was a picture of Nakobe Dean leaving Lincoln Financial Field last night. As you can see, he has a crutch and his whole left leg is in a brace. And yes, obviously with having a torn patellar tendon, yes, he is going to miss the remainder of the 2025 NFL playoffs. Wish him the best on having a speedy recovery. Hopefully we see him back on the field sooner than later, as it's going to take some time to heal that up. Obviously something you never want to see to a player. And as good as a season as Nakobe Dean was having, a big-time star linebacker for the Birds, it's definitely something that you do not want to see with any player, but this one definitely hurts in a lot of different ways. Again, wish him the best of luck in recovery, and it's definitely something very, very unfortunate to see at this time. But now, let's move on to Jalen Hurts' play. So, yeah, I'm not going to ignore it. I'm going to get right to it. The passing game needs to improve. It cannot be what it was yesterday, and hey, the Eagles, they did in a way get a fast start, but that was because of the turnover, which the Eagles did indeed capitalize. And it was one of 4 turnovers that the Eagles would get yesterday from the Green Bay Packers. But I got to give it to them. They did capitalize on that turnover, as they were pretty much, I mean, they were already down far into Green Bay's territory when that turnover happened. I mean, it was immediate, right when the ball was caught from the kickoff, the fumble did indeed happen, and that fumble was an incredible hit by Oren Burks, and it was recovered by Jeremiah Trotter Jr. to set up the Eagles in great range for getting a touchdown, which they did get, which was to Jahan Dotson. But even watching that touchdown, it was a little concerning. I mean, you looked at Jalen Hurts, you got to give kudos to that offensive line, because Jalen Hurts was standing in the pocket for about 3 to 4 hours before he got that ball off. So that goes exactly into what I'm about to say right now, and that is the quick passes are something that really need to become a regular in this Eagles offense. And another thing is, to go off with the quick passes, I didn't really see a rhythm last night either, and that is something where the quick passes and rhythm go perfectly together. That is something that gets your offense and gets your quarterback in a good rhythm, and that is something I didn't quite see yesterday. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to blame everything on Jalen Hurts. There were some play calls that really had me scratching my head, and questioning my life decisions, as I didn't quite get what they were trying to do in some situations. I didn't understand what Kellen Moore was really trying to do, but there were a lot of times where they had routes that were working. They had some good curl routes that were working. They had curl out routes that were happening as well, where if you were listening to Tom Brady and his commentary last night, he was saying that he was basically saying the curl routes were something that would be really positive for the passing game. And that is something where I saw the Eagles utilize them, but once they would use them, they would never use them again. It was like something where you saw it once or twice and then you never saw it again for the rest of the game. And yeah, the Eagles' passing did get better, and it really didn't get great until the fourth quarter, as Jalen Hurts was in the 30 range in terms of his passing. He only had 30-some yards by halftime. I'm pretty sure it was around 39 yards by halftime, if I'm not wrong, which is not great, especially for a playoff game. And for a starting QB, that's not the greatest thing in the world. Now, I understand you have a great run game, but as you saw last night, the Green Bay Packers were stacking the box at times. I mean, you have a running back who has over 2,000 yards, being Saquon Barkley. Of course, they know that you're going to run it at times. And I mean, Saquon Barkley still got some good stats. But to stay focused on this topic here with Jalen Hurts, it's something where the pass game needs to improve, the quick passes need to improve, and the ability for this Eagles offense, not just Hurts, but the offense in general, to pick up a blitz. That's something where I've seen them struggle with all season. And it wasn't the greatest of things last night either, where the Eagles offense still had that same exact struggle, with picking up a blitz from the Green Bay Packers. So that is something that needs to 100% improve, especially since you'll be going up either one of, LA Rams or the Minnesota Vikings. Those are two teams that will 100% take it to you, especially the Minnesota Vikings. A lot of this stuff, the offensive woes cannot continue against a team like the Vikings. Now, I understand your defense was obviously there to back you up, and we're about to get onto that topic in a little bit. But you need to contribute. You really need to keep momentum on your side. The offense is a big piece of your team's momentum. If your team comes out every time, your defense comes out every time and gets a stop, and your offense comes out and gets a 3 and out, what do you think that does to the defense? It's not like it's just, killing their momentum, but you're also tiring your defense out, where eventually they're going to wear down. These guys aren't, supermen. Eventually they are going to get tired, especially the defensive line with guys like Jordan Davis. They're big guys. They will get tired eventually if they don't get a big enough break. And yesterday, there were a huge amount of 3 and outs for the Eagles, where the offense would come out and look absolutely clueless. And it was something that just needs to improve. Whether you run slants, whether you run good curl routes, you need to get the short passing game going, because that's the only way you're going to get yourself in a rhythm. And that is something where I really did not see at all yesterday for the Birds, as, again, Green Bay was giving them a lot of opportunities with having 4 takeaways the Eagles had. They were giving the Eagles plenty of opportunities. That game should have been a lot more than it was yesterday. But, yeah, definitely Jalen Hurts' part to stay, on point with that. You need to get the passes. The accuracy was a little off as well, I noticed. You need to make sure you're accurate on the short passing game, and you also need to get play calls which allow you to use the short passing game. Where there were times where I did see some guys open yesterday, and Hurts straight up did not pick them up. So hopefully that's just some rust. Again, he was out for a week prior to that, so hopefully that is just some, he was out for a couple of weeks prior to that, so hopefully it's just rust that we're experiencing right now, and hopefully when the divisional game comes up next week, hopefully it will be a little smoother sailing. That's definitely something that we all want to see out of Jalen Hurts. But now, let's move on to the defense. So yes, definitely got to talk about this part in the Eagles, and let's start going over our contributors. First off, we got Zack Baun. Cannot forget Zack Baun, as he had an incredible game. As let's go over his stats. 7 tackles, he had 1 interception, and just an absolute incredible game by Baun. He was also a big reason why the Eagles got the amount of sacks that they did. He was a big piece on pretty much paving the way, allowing his teammates to get the sacks. He was just all over the place yesterday, causing all types of issues for Jordan Love in that offense. And the great pressure that the Eagles were putting on the Packers yesterday were a big piece of Zack Baun. Zack Baun was a big piece of that, I should say, with the Eagles putting the amount of pressure that they did on the Green Bay offense. And again, Baun pretty much led the way for a lot of those sacks, and the plays that he made were a big reason why the Eagles got, again, as much pressure as they did on Jordan Love. But now, let's look at another contributor. Yes, Quinyon Mitchell, who got 6 tackles, also picked up an interception yesterday. He was doing an incredible job in the secondary with staying on guys. So, hey, got to give it to the rookie. He's had an incredible year already, but is still performing at a high level in the playoffs, getting the Eagles their first playoff win of the season. So, kudos to Quinyon Mitchell. Was doing great back there in the secondary. And someone else I really got to bring up, Nolan Smith over here, who had 2 sacks, 7 tackles. He was also all over the place. And yeah, again, this brings up what I was talking about with Zack Baun. Zack Baun making the plays that he did was a big reason on helping Nolan Smith get to Jordan Love. And especially knowing Jordan Love, he's a slippery quarterback. And the Eagles did a great job with holding him in place. They did a great job with holding the ends as well. I mean, that was something that you need to do, especially against a slippery QB like this. You need to hold the ends. They did the same thing against Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens. They did a great job with holding him in place, with holding the ends. They did the same thing with Jordan Love. Yes, there were some times where he got a little slippery, but overall, the Eagles' defense kept them in check. And, I mean, the scoreboard, that was the big reason why the Eagles won the game yesterday, was the incredible job by the defense. Obviously, 4 takeaways. Darius Slay also getting an interception. So, yeah, 3 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. There's your 4 takeaways right there. But now, to finalize one more thing with the defense, yes, I don't want to be someone who kills the positivity, but yeah, tackling right here. That is something that definitely needs to improve for the Birds, as just looking at it, there were a lot of missed tackles. And I understand this is how some of the guys are taught. I don't like it, but if you saw a lot of times yesterday when the Green Bay got a huge gain where they got practically to the 1-yard line, where they got the touchdown to really give a gut punch to the Eagles. If you watch that run where the Eagles were doing a constant missed tackle after missed tackle after missed tackle, they were all trying to rip the ball out, and I cannot stand that. I cannot stand how they are pretty much taught to rip the ball out and not do a textbook tackle. That is something that was missing 100% yesterday, where, yeah, the Eagles were struggling with that. A lot of gains that shouldn't have been as long as they were. They should have been a lot shorter, but the Eagles' defense were just not getting on those tackles. There were constant missed ones. And again, if you watch those very, very closely, what are they all trying to do? They're all trying to strip Green Bay of the ball instead of doing the good play and make the tackle. So that is something that I cannot stand. I see it all the time during the NFL, but I just cannot stand how they're all trying to rip the ball out and not trying to bring the guy, not doing what they should be doing, being bring the guy down. Yes, if you force a fumble, that's great, but hey, you don't want to let them get a bigger gain, because the trying to rip the ball out, that's good and all, but there's always a negative side to everything, and that's the negative side. If you're trying to rip the ball out, you're not stopping the guy. If he keeps the ball, he gets a great gain, and that's exactly what we saw yesterday. So, yeah, hopefully we see some improvement with that coming up in the divisional round game. But now, let's move on to the offense. And yes, we have a good amount of offensive contributors. First one being Jahan Dotson. Got to give a shout out to him. He didn't have a huge amount of passing yards yesterday, or receiving yards yesterday, I should say. But he had 11 yards for 1 reception. And yeah, the 1 reception of the game was his 1 touchdown, and his first playoff touchdown in his career. So congratulations to Jahan Dotson, as that was that touchdown off of the turnover that the Eagles got. So congratulations to him, as he was able to get his first touchdown catch being in the playoffs, I should say. So congratulations to Jahan Dotson. Next contributor we can't ignore, we have to bring up Saquon Barkley, as he was also a big piece of the game yesterday. 25 carries for 119 yards. No touchdowns, but was still a big contributor in yesterday's game, where the run game struggled at times, where obviously Green Bay was, like I said, stacking the box, but he did come up on top when necessary. So a great game by Saquon Barkley. And finally, I have to bring up a big one right here. I'm not even going to show a picture of him. I'm just going to show this play. Yeah, Dallas Goedert, who had an incredible touchdown run, the 24-yard touchdown run. That was incredible, where he ran over the guy in front of him already, but then he just stiff-armed him the whole way to the end zone. I mean, he stiff-armed him about, I'm pretty sure, 3 times on that 24-yard run to the end zone. Dallas Goedert really showing off his strength. Man, is it good to have him back in time for the playoffs. They had him playing a little bit last week against the Giants to get him ready and warm him up, get the rust off for the playoffs. Yeah, he didn't look rusty at all last night, as he 100% owned Green Bay, especially on this play. Incredible game by Dallas Goedert, going over his, as a game, yards, 4 receptions, 47 yards, his total game yards, yes, 47 yards, and of course the 1 touchdown. So an incredible game by Dallas Goedert, and yeah, cannot get that photo out of my head, cannot get that touchdown run out of my head. So if you want to check out that touchdown run again, check out our Instagram. We have it in our Instagram so you can rewatch that, as it was an absolutely incredible play, something that that's something that's still replaying in my head over and over and over again. So incredible job by Dallas Goedert. And finally, yeah, Jake Elliott, got to finish off with this. He missed another extra point yesterday. And again, this is stuff that is going to, every point matters, especially as you move further into the playoffs. Yes, the Eagles got over a double-digit win over the Green Bay Packers yesterday, but as you move further into the playoffs, every single point matters. And especially since the Eagles' offense was not doing as well as, that great yesterday, every point really mattered. And the fact that he missed yet another kick, it's definitely getting pretty concerning. Again, that same exact play always replays in my head, where what if the Eagles their season's on the line and they need a field goal to win the game. There's only 2 seconds left on the clock. The Eagles are at the 40-some yard line, or 50, or 40-yard line, 45-yard line, 35-yard line, whatever it is. They need a kick to win the game, and Jake Elliott comes up. That's the thought that enters my head. Is he able to make a kick like that? And what I've seen from him these past games, I don't think he would be able to make a kick like that. As you look, when he kicks the ball, it always starts to do a hook. I don't know what he's doing to those kicks, and it wasn't exactly windy yesterday either, so you cannot use that as an excuse. I don't know what he's doing, but I can tell you one thing. He's definitely hooking his kicks. That's 100%. So definitely a little concerning still with Jake Elliott. Again, like I said, that thought always comes in the back of my head of what if the Eagles enter a situation like that where the game's on the line and he's the only one that can win it. Yeah, that's something that's still a little concerning. We'll have to see. Hopefully he practices up for the next game, as still have that, let's just say, unfortunate thought in the back of my head. I don't want that to happen, but let's just hope that the Eagles offense can get some good scores next week to not have that type of situation happen. Let's just hope. Let's hope and pray. Let's hope and pray. But that's all for me. Let's hope the Eagles can get the job done against whoever they're going up against next week, whether it's the Minnesota Vikings or the LA Rams. Let's hope the Eagles can get the job done next week. And it's going to be an absolute crazy event at the Link next week. It's going to be loud. It's going to be nuts. The tailgate's going to be crazy. Let's have a great week. Enjoy this win, and let's get ready for the battle next week that will be happening in South Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field. That's all for me. And as always, go Birds! Have a good week, everybody, and let's enjoy this wonderful playoff win. Have a good one.